Get off, you riff raff! Bride humiliates poor girl publicly on wedding day, unaware she was the groom's long-lost daughter. The small town of Ellenshire had been buzzing for weeks. Everyone spoke of the wedding between the wealthy businessman, Mr. Adrian Holt, and his beautiful bride-to-be, Miss Clarissa Vane. The church was being decorated with roses and lilies, the kind that made people stop and stare. White ribbons hung from every corner, and the scent of fresh flowers carried in the air. But in a tiny house at the far end of the town lived a girl who didn't belong to all this glamour. Her name was Alara. She was 19, simple, and poor. Her clothes were always patched, her shoes worn out, yet her heart was as bright as the sun. On the morning of the wedding, Alara's friend, Maggie, ran into their little cottage, waving an envelope. "Alara! You won't believe this," Maggie shouted, her chest heaving. Alara looked up from scrubbing a small pot. "What is it? You look like you've seen a ghost." Maggie's eyes glowed with excitement. "It's an invitation. Look, it has the Holt family seal. Someone wants you at the wedding." Alara blinked in surprise. "Me? Why would the Holt family invite someone like me? I've never even spoken to them." Maggie shrugged. "Maybe it's a mistake. Or maybe," she leaned in with a teasing smile, "someone secretly likes you." Alara shook her head quickly. "Don't be silly. People like me don't belong in weddings like that. If I go, people will laugh." But deep down, a strange feeling tugged at her heart. Something about the name Adrian Holt felt familiar, though she couldn't explain why. The day of the wedding arrived, and Ellenshire turned into a fairy tale. The church bells rang, the streets filled with horses and carriages, and townsfolk gathered in excitement. Alara stood at the edge of the crowd, dressed in a simple pale blue dress Maggie had stitched for her. It was plain but clean, and Alara hoped it would help her blend in. As the music played and the bride arrived, whispers filled the air. Clarissa Vane was breathtaking, dressed in a gown of sparkling silk and pearls. She walked proudly, holding Mr. Adrian Holt's hand. Alara's heart raced. She had never seen Adrian up close before. He was tall, with kind eyes, though his face carried a weight of sadness, like someone who had lost something long ago. Maggie nudged her. "Why do you look like that? You're staring." Alara whispered, "I don't know. It's strange. I feel like I know him." Before Maggie could reply, something happened that would change everything. Alara tripped on her way inside the church. Her shoe broke, and she stumbled forward, bumping into one of the bridesmaids. Gasps filled the hall as Alara fell to the ground. Clarissa, the bride, turned sharply. Her voice, loud and cold, cut through the music. "Who let this riff-raff in here?" she shouted, pointing at Alara. The crowd went silent. All eyes turned to the poor girl trembling on the floor. Alara's cheeks burned red. I was invited," she stammered, showing the envelope Maggie had given her. Clarissa laughed cruelly. "Invited? Don't make me laugh. This is a high-class wedding, not a marketplace. Get off the floor and get out before you embarrass yourself further." Gasps echoed through the hall. Some people murmured in pity, others giggled behind their hands. Alara's eyes filled with tears, but she stood quietly, trying to hold back her pain. Adrian, the groom, turned slowly toward the scene. His eyes fixed on Alara, and for a brief moment, his face froze. He stepped closer, ignoring Clarissa's furious whisper. "Alara," he said softly, almost like a man speaking to a memory. "What did you say your name was?" Alara wiped her tears. "My name is Alara. Alara Finch." The groom's hand trembled. His face turned pale. The name struck him like thunder. Clarissa frowned, tugging at his arm. "Adrian, ignore her. She's no one. Just a poor girl who snuck in." But Adrian didn't move. His eyes stayed on Alara as if he had seen a ghost. His lips parted, and in a voice only she could hear, he whispered. "Impossible. Alara was the name of my daughter." The hall went quiet, waiting for what would happen next. The hall was still. The music had stopped, and the priest's voice faded into silence. All anyone could hear was the pounding of Adrian Holt's heart as he stared at Alara, the trembling girl still clutching the torn invitation. Clarissa tugged at his sleeve sharply, her smile tight and forced. "Adrian, for heaven's sake, it's our wedding. Don't waste time with her. She's just some street girl looking for food and drama." But Adrian didn't move. His usually calm face was pale, his lips parted like he had seen something that no one else could. Elara, he whispered again, his voice shaking. What did you say your full name was? Elara looked around nervously. Everyone was watching her, some with pity, others with judgment. Her throat was dry, but she forced the words out. Elara Finch, she said, her voice small but clear. The name struck Adrian like lightning. He staggered back a step, his eyes widening. No, no, it can't be. Finch? That was her mother's name. Clarissa snapped, her eyes blazing. Adrian, enough. You're scaring everyone. This is nonsense. Stop entertaining her lies. But Adrian couldn't stop. He turned back to Elara, his voice louder this time. Tell me about your mother. Who was she? Elara's chest tightened. Talking about her mother always brought pain. She swallowed hard. Her name was Leora Finch. She passed away when I was little. I never knew who my father was. She never told me. We were always poor, moving from place to place. People said she was hiding something, but she never explained. The crowd began to murmur. Some gasped, others whispered in shock. Adrian's hands trembled. Leora, he breathed. She was the woman I loved before my family forced me into a different life. Elara's eyes widened. You knew my mother? Clarissa's face turned red with fury. She pulled Adrian's arm roughly. Stop this madness, Adrian. This is not the time or the place. You are humiliating me in front of everyone. Adrian's voice rose, filled with pain. Humiliation? Clarissa, you just humiliated her in front of the whole town. And if what I think is true, if she is truly my daughter, then you just humiliated my own flesh and blood. Gasps rippled through the hall. Guests shifted uncomfortably, some looking at Clarissa with raised eyebrows. Clarissa's voice dripped with venom. Don't be ridiculous. This girl is nothing. Probably making up stories to get money. Look at her. Do you really believe she could be your daughter? Elara's tears spilled down her cheeks. I never asked for this, she whispered. I didn't even want to come. My friend made me. I didn't know, she trailed off, her voice breaking. Maggie, who had been hiding near the doorway, suddenly stepped forward. Her voice was bold. She's not lying. I've known Elara all my life. Her mother worked herself to death trying to care for her. She never took a dime from anyone, never asked for charity. And Elara, she's the kindest soul I've ever met. Elara shook her head quickly. Maggie, stop. Please, you'll only make things worse. But Adrian's eyes burned with determination now. He turned back to Elara, his voice filled with both hope and fear. Elara, do you have anything from your mother? Something she left you? Elara hesitated. Then, slowly, she reached into her small purse and pulled out a locket. The chain was old and worn, but the inside still held a tiny picture of a young Adrian and Leora, smiling together in their youth. Adrian's knees almost buckled. He reached for the locket with trembling hands. This was mine. I gave it to her before she left. His voice cracked. There's no doubt now. You are my daughter. The hall erupted in noise. Some people cheered softly, others whispered furiously. Clarissa's face twisted in rage, her dream wedding collapsing before her eyes. You cannot be serious, she screamed. Adrian, this is your wedding day. And you're throwing everything away for some girl who just showed up out of nowhere. Adrian turned on her, his voice like thunder. That girl is my child. My blood. And you, his eyes flashed with disappointment, you showed cruelty instead of compassion. Do you realize what you've done? Clarissa's mask of elegance broke, revealing pure fury. So what now, Adrian? You'll abandon me at the altar for a stranger? You'll destroy everything we built because of a silly coincidence. Adrian shook his head firmly. This is no coincidence. This is the truth. And I will not turn my back on my daughter again. Elara stood frozen, her heart torn between disbelief and longing. She whispered, almost too softly to hear, Father? Adrian's eyes filled with tears. He stepped forward and gently placed his hands on her shoulders. Yes, Elara. I am your father. And I will never let you suffer alone again. The hall fell into stunned silence, but Clarissa's voice rose above it, sharp as a blade. If you do this, Adrian, you will regret it. I will not be made a fool. Adrian's gaze hardened. The only fool here is the one who cannot show kindness to the innocent. Clarissa's face twisted with rage as she stormed out of the church, her wedding gown dragging behind her. The guests gasped again, whispers filling the air like wildfire. Elara clung to the locket, her tears falling freely. For the first time in her life, she felt both fear and hope burning together in her heart. The story of Ellenshire's grand wedding had just taken a turn no one could have imagined. The grand hall of the church still buzzed with whispers long after Clarissa stormed out. Guests exchanged glances, some horrified, some thrilled by the scandal unfolding before their eyes. The wedding that was supposed to be a union of wealth and power had turned into the town's biggest drama. But for Adrian Holt, none of that mattered. His heart ached as he stood beside Elara, the daughter he had unknowingly abandoned. She clutched the locket against her chest like it was her lifeline. Tears streamed down her cheeks, and her body trembled with confusion. Adrian whispered softly, "I should have been there for you, Elara. I failed your mother, and I failed you. But I promise you now, I will not fail again." Elara's voice cracked. "Why didn't you ever come for me? All these years. I thought I wasn't wanted." Adrian's chest tightened with guilt. "I didn't know. Your mother never told me she was pregnant when she left. I searched for her for years, but she disappeared. I thought she wanted nothing more to do with me. If I had known about you," his voice broke, and he looked down in shame. "I would have moved heaven and earth to find you." Elara's tears fell faster, but for the first time, she felt a small spark of comfort. For years, she carried the weight of not knowing her father, but now, he stood before her, broken yet sincere. The hall's tension thickened as Clarissa's sharp voice echoed from the entrance. She had returned, her face burning with anger. "So this is it, Adrian? You throw me aside in front of the entire town for a nobody?" Gasps filled the church again. Adrian turned toward her, his voice steady but heavy with disappointment. "Clarissa, this isn't about wealth or class. This is about kindness, compassion, and truth. When Elara stumbled, you called her riff-raff. You mocked her without knowing who she was. Even if she weren't my daughter, she deserved respect as a human being." Clarissa's eyes narrowed. "Respect? Do you know what people are saying about me right now? Do you know how humiliated I feel?" Adrian's voice deepened. "And what about Elara? Do you care how humiliated she felt? My disappointment isn't just about today, it's about realizing I cannot spend my life with someone who treats others as less than herself." Clarissa folded her arms, her voice dripping with venom. "So what now? You want me to welcome this girl into our home? To parade her around like some charity case? Never. I will not share my life with someone like her." Adrian's jaw tightened. He had hoped, prayed, that Clarissa would show some trace of kindness. But her words only sharpened his clarity. He took a deep breath. "Clarissa, I wanted to speak to you, to apologize for how this turned out. I wanted to ask if you could accept Elara as your daughter, because she deserves a family. But your heart is too hard. I see that now. Marriage is a journey meant for two people who can walk in compassion and trust. And today, I realize, I cannot walk that road with you." Clarissa's face drained of color. "You can't be serious. You're ending this? Here? In front of everyone?" Adrian's voice was calm but firm. "Yes. I cannot marry a woman who cannot love with kindness. Wealth fades, beauty changes, but character remains. And yours has shown itself clearly today." Clarissa's scream echoed through the hall. She threw down her bouquet, her eyes wild. "You will regret this, Adrian Holt. You'll regret it for the rest of your life." With that, she stormed out once more, this time slamming the heavy doors behind her. The crowd murmured in disbelief, but Adrian didn't care about the gossip anymore. He turned back to Elara, who stood frozen in shock. Elara whispered, You chose me over her?" Adrian placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "I didn't just choose you, Elara. I chose truth. I chose to stop hiding from the mistakes of my past. You are my daughter. That means more than any wedding, any reputation, or any deal." Elara's lips trembled. "But I'm just me. I'm not rich, or fancy, or—" Adrian interrupted, his eyes soft. "You're everything I could ever want in a daughter. Brave, kind, and stronger than you know. I may not have been there for your first 19 years, but if you'll let me, I want to be there for every year that follows." Tears poured down Alara's face as she finally let herself smile. I'd like that. I'd like that a lot. Maggie, standing nearby, clapped her hands together. Well, isn't this better than any wedding drama? Who needs a bride when you just found your daughter? The crowd chuckled softly, the tension easing. For the first time that day, joy began to replace scandal. Adrian held Alara close, whispering into her hair. I can't undo the past. But I will spend the rest of my life proving my love to you. No more loneliness. No more wondering if you're wanted. You are mine, Alara. My daughter. And as the bells of Allenshire tolled in the distance, the town knew they had witnessed not the wedding of the year, but the reunion of a father and daughter long torn apart. The wedding was ruined. But a family was reborn.